Welcome to the Young and the Restless. I'm Victor.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Zach. And this is the podcast where, if you're bored, you can just fly away to a different podcast.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I dreamt I had a soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, will that dream just go on for its own sake?
Five, two.
And again, 3,
6,
3.
6.
And here we go. 3 orange spaghetti lobster 1.
So what we were saying before the recording.
Yeah, Olivia's
Backed out.
dreams are too complex.
So I was using your jerking off dream from last week as an example of what I want from my dream if we're going to analyze it, because it's a clear, concise thing that we can talk about. But my dreams lately have just been like epic tales with side plots and like interwoven through lines and character development.
But that's compelling.
Yeah, I think I have to accept that we're not fully going to be able to dissect one of those dreams.
Mine was just like, I was jerking off and I was ashamed.
Yeah,
It's
and
like-
that's easy to analyze.
Right. It almost doesn't beg for a whole podcast.
You both have dream envy. You both want dreams more like the other one's dreams.
The Freud and the Restless.
Sometimes Zach will have a dream and then I will have Zach's dream. That's happened a few times.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah. I think I had Zach's jerking off dream.
But I wasn't in it though, right? Just me tooing you. I wasn't Louis C.K.ing you, I hope.
No, no. That has also happened where I will have your dream and I will be in your dream and you will also be there.
Because if I was
That's
there,
That's not what happened.
if I was
That's
there,
not what
I was
happened.
trying to get away from people. Trust me.
Right. No, I had the dream, but I was you in your dream.
Okay.
So did you recreate the whole dream?
I
Like
don't
the
think
jerking
so.
off and your parents there and then-
It started off like that and then I think it branched off into something else. But it was like my brain was like, where can we start? Oh yeah, jerking off at your parents' house?
Oh, you were actually in my dream last night, Olivia.
You were in my dream last night, Zach.
Weird. But mine was super creepy. And not in a jerking off way, in like a nightmare way.
Ooh.
And you weren't a big part of it. I don't remember what happened before, but the way it ended is I was sitting across a table from you and you were doing this thing where you were like I couldn't tell if you were laughing or crying, but it was like this really creepy mixture of both. And then you didn't understand why I was freaked out. And I was trying to explain to you what you were doing because you didn't seem to know that you were doing this with your face. And I was like, you're like sad laughing and happy crying at the same time. And I tried to imitate it and I woke myself up and I was like doing it out loud in bed. And I was like, thank God I don't have somebody to sleep next to right now, because that would have creeped them the fuck out to just wake up to me like imitating the Joker.
Oh my God. That's okay. That's creepy. Also very weird. My dream ended with sitting across from you at a table.
What?
Yeah.
dream cartography.
Was I freaked
As we're
out?
in this-
Was I freaked out and you didn't know why?
There was a weird thing. There was a freaky thing happening, but
I was jerking off.
Okay, so we have to dig into this. We need descriptions of the room, descriptions of the table. What were you each wearing? We need to find where it overlaps and where it diverges.
it's like a white room with fluorescent lighting.
Dude, what the fuck? Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a classroom with like
Yeah, I was in a school. We were literally in a school.
with like one of those super thin like pine wood desks.
What the fuck?
That's really weird.
Why am I not invited to the dream parties?
You were in my dream too, but that was a different part. We'll talk about it later. It was very funny.
Oh man.
That's really creepy. So, okay, so in my dream, in this part of my dream, we were sitting across from each other at this table in a school, in like a classroom. You were taking Polaroids of a video like, I don't know, it was weird. We were simultaneously sitting across from each other, and I was like, I'm not sure if like I was the girl in the video, but you were taking Polaroids of a video of this girl, and it was like she was doing a weird like flappy arm movement, kind of like the like Elisa Lam video.
Ooh.
Yeah, you were taking Polaroids of it, and it was coming out like blurry, and you were trying to like decipher something about, I don't know, it was very weird. She seemed like not human.
Like a The Ring kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah.
So, Zach, what was Olivia wearing?
I don't remember. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I was pretty distracted by her crazy facial expressions.
Gotcha.
Was this the dream you're going to do today?
Yeah.
Was this the nightmarish one that you had?
No.
Oh, okay. It's the other one. Because it sounds like Zach had a nightmare and you had a nightmare recently, and you were going back and forth on, do I do the nightmare dream or do I do the dream where apparently you guys existed in the same dream space at the same time?
And it's so weird that it was like a similar feeling and looking location.
Yeah, I think we have to do both of those dreams.
The first time this happened, the Treehouse,
yeah,
we both had Treehouse dreams on the same night, but then once we described them, they were like pretty different, weren't they?
Yeah.
You guys are psychically connected. Your dream siblings.
We shared a womb in the dream world.
That's probably a thing.
We should go find our dream mother.
Dream mom.
You need to find each other to be able to find your dream mother.
Well, we keep finding each other, apparently. Yeah, but then the second time this happened, it was that, Zach, you still have to tell this dream sometime because it, like, makes me laugh.
Well, maybe
so
that's what we
hard.
should do today is the tandem. We could do the...
Yeah, let's just talk about tandem dream. We could do that. Does that work?
Tandem dreaming. This is where the podcast shifts into fun talks about dreams to like kind of a nightmarish sci-fi thing where we all end up like in a government camp somewhere.
That's right.
Being experimented on.
Like E.T.?
Just like E.T. I don't remember E.T. Like I know of it, but I don't remember what happens in E.T.
The government kidnaps him because he's an alien and the boy has to get him back. But they're going to want to dissect our minds after this.
Your scene in my dream was so funny.
Victor's scene?
Yeah, Victor had a scene.
How many lines did I have?
Like a few.
Okay.
You're a great supporting character.
I wasn't like an extra.
You're like third on the call sheet.
That's another like trend I've noticed in my dreams recently is that Victor will like pop up in dreams that he's like not a part of as just like a support system. Sometimes like I'll call him, I'll be like, hey, this weird thing's happening, and he'll be like, I'm sorry, you know I love you. And I'm like, thanks. Like I have to go deal with it.
We were talking about this last night. I said, I'm her dream Clippy. I just like pop in like, can I help you with anything? No? Okay.
Yeah, it seems like just like your role in real life.
Yeah.
As a supportive partner, I mean.
Yeah, no, that's where I should be in her psyche is just like if things get a little distressing, I kind of pop in to help and then I get to fade away. I think that's like the right amount of headspace I should be taking up.
I think if we were having problems, you would like be a bigger part of my dreams. I tend to dream about my problems.
No, I genuinely like that you like in your subconscious, I'm filed away as like a helpful, like a support system.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Where do your dreams come from? And what do they really mean? What do they really mean?
So, 2020?
Yeah.
At the beginning of 2020, when we worked together, we got into the habit, which is kind of where this like whole idea started, because we worked relatively early. So I don't know about you, like my dreams were still fresh.
Right. Yeah, same.
I was still kind of, that job was a really kind of surreal place in a lot of ways. And so I felt like I didn't leave the dream world fully until around noon most days. So yeah, we got into a routine of like discussing our dreams in the morning. And one day we both had a dream about a treehouse. We did talk about how this job was on this second floor.
Yeah.
And it had a bunch of big windows that looked out at like the canopies of trees. And I feel like that played a role.
It definitely did in mine because my treehouse dream, the treehouse was work. Like we were working from a treehouse. But it was just kind of a weird coincidence that we both dreamed about treehouses on the same day.
Yeah. I grew up with a treehouse. So it was kind of, I remember thinking that mine was like a regression dream, like combining my current situation with the past.
I don't have a lot of personal experiences with tree houses, but it seemed like a really playful dream. Like it seemed like work without the bullshit that was at work. It was like as if you and I started our own podcast network. We were podcast producers at this job, and it was like if we were doing it the way we wanted to, and it was a much more fun environment, and we were literally in a tree house, which was dope.
Yeah. Mine had a playful atmosphere too, but I think I was made to feel like a child a lot at that job by our boss. So I think the dream had this tone for me of like, well, if I'm going to be treated like a child, I'm going to act like one and have fun.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely an environment where like they were very critical of us in ways that like didn't always make sense and like kind of micromanaging, but there wasn't a lot of consistency in it. You didn't always know what was expected of you, but you knew that there was a lot expected of you. So it could be stressful at times.
The dream Bible entry seems relevant here. To dream of a treehouse represents your wish for privacy and independence, wanting to do whatever you want without other people noticing it or criticizing you.
That's
a sign.
Pretty relevant. Relevant.
A sign that you want to escape from waking life problems or enjoy yourself alone, wanting privacy or alone time. So, like, that's how you guys were feeling at that job, was you enjoyed working together. You enjoyed the work you were doing. It felt like there were people kind of breathing down your neck sometimes, or like being overly critical.
That's
so
right.
You had a shared desire for the job to be more like that treehouse fantasy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Could have been an alternate title for this podcast, like Jung's Treehouse or something.
We thought about that.
It sounds like a highbrow kids show, Jung's Treehouse. It's on PBS.
So that's kind of where this all started, right?
Yeah, and since then you keep having my dreams, but
after you've told
them,
them
they're not
me,
usually the same night, except last night apparently.
Well, and we don't always know though, because we don't.
It's true.
We don't share our dreams every day, so who's to say?
So yeah, do you want to tell us about your epic tale last night?
I was like performing at a shadow puppet theater for like a large audience, a school audience. And I remember seeing my cousin in the audience. It felt kind of like a school assembly or like a talent show or something. Cut to like in the hallways, and I saw Zach there. And Zach, you were showing me this envelope, and it had a name on it, and it was like addressed to the science teacher. And you were like, look what I found. And I opened it, and it was like somebody had tried to send the science teacher a COVID mask that was like poisoned with arsenic. They were trying to kill him.
Rude.
Yeah. Also, this was a high school, but explicitly this was made clear several times. You and I were adults auditing high school classes.
Okay.
For fun.
Like we weren't even asked to be there?
No, it was like we got something out of these classes. We're standing there, and my cousin, who I saw in the audience, like came up to me, and she lives out of town. And I was like, hey, Zach, this is my cousin, this is my buddy, Zach. And Zach, you look her like dead in the eyes, like just like deadpan. You were like, want to hook up?
It's not usually my strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We were, and then me and her were like taken aback, and you were like, I don't know, just thought I'd ask.
So I'll just float that out there.
Okay. So I walked to my car, and I'm like leaving to go home, and my car was broken into. Someone had rifled through my glove box. I don't know. That's a thing that happened to my car a lot when I was living in like downtown Seattle when I was going to school. Like I kind of just like brushed it off, and I got in the car, and then Victor, you were there with me, and we were driving home on the freeway, and I kind of got lucid at this point. Something that will happen to me is I will get lucid when I'm doing a thing that I know is going to take a long time. Like eating at a restaurant or waiting for something. That will sometimes make me lucid because it's like it feels like the dream is going to fizzle out, and so I'll like try and become aware. I don't know.
Your ADHD superpower kicks in.
Yeah.
Being bored in your own dream and waking yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I become lucid, I will often fly. But you were there with me, and we were in my car, and I like said to you, this is going to take a while for us to drive home. Look, so like, since this is a dream, do you want to fly? Like, I know I can fly. Do you want to come with me? Like, it's okay. We can leave the car. It'll just drive. It'll keep driving. And you were like, sure, I'll try. I was like, okay, but like, you have to come with me. And you were like, okay, I think I can do it. So when I'm going to fly in a dream, I'll kind of like launch myself up. It's like an energy momentum coming from my core, just like shoots me into the air.
Like Superman, yeah.
Yes. And I'm sitting here in the car, and I'm like going to like propel myself through the car roof, like to fly home. And I'm insistent that you're going to come with me. And I like bundle up that energy, and I go, huh! And nothing happens. And I realized that like I can't fly with you here. So that was that.
So not only can I not fly in my dreams, I prevent you from flying in your dreams.
Exactly.
He keeps you grounded.
Quite literally. And then I was at school again with you, Zach, and we were investigating this like arsenic COVID mask situation. And there was like a name on this envelope. Like, we knew that it was coming from a fake name. And this is where it got like really surreal. And it was just the two of us were sitting in this white classroom, like fluorescent lighting. And it was like we were watching a video of the woman who was trying to poison the science teacher. But I was also maybe in the video, and the video was not really on a screen anywhere. It was just like all around. And we were taking Polaroids of it, trying to like get information of her. And it would print it out, and there would be like little hints of other information in the Polaroid that weren't in the video that you could see.
I like the idea that there's video of the event, and we're like, oh, evidence, Polaroid.
It was honestly, so we were talking about ARGs last week, and it was kind of like that, where like we were, what does that stand for again?
Alternate reality game.
Right. Okay. So it's like, it's a video, but there's other work you have to do to get what you are looking for out of it. Like, you can't just watch it. Sometimes there's like a phone number or social media accounts.
Yeah,
and
you
like,
have to run the audio through a spectrogram or something.
Exactly. And that's kind of, I think that's where that came from. We had to take pictures of the video to get this extra information out of it. We're trying to like solve this mystery.
That is creepy. The media of media. Like, a lot of those ARGs have like, somebody will film a TV with their phone.
Yeah.
And there's that like low bootleg quality to it that's like kind of eerie.
Yes. And that was pretty much the whole thing. Sorry. That's what I meant by like, it's just kind of an epic tale that's like, I don't know if we can even really get into it. There's like a whole lot going on, but that's the overview for you.
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was, too much going on. I always find it interesting when dreams pick up a thread instead of abandoning them. Like, you came back to the arsenic situation.
Right. Yeah, that was an important thing throughout the whole dream. I think the only part that felt disconnected was when I was driving home with Victor. Also, you kept complimenting my taste in bridges.
How do we know? You don't remember anything from your dreams last night, Victor?
No.
I feel like we both might have been
Just
there.
a classroom where you both were there, not acknowledging me at all.
I think that might have been you. For real, just the attitude of like, I don't know if I can fly, but I'm totally willing to try.
Yeah, that feels like
That
me.
feels very Victor.
Yeah. So I pulled, I haven't gotten a chance to read these yet, but I pulled a few keywords out of your dream. So I couldn't find shadow puppets, but I've got shadows, puppets, and puppeteer.
I was a puppeteer.
So real quick, to dream of a puppeteer represents a controlling or manipulative behavior. It may also reflect manipulative intentions or awareness of someone else trying to manipulate you.
Okay.
You were
So we'll
expressing
file that away.
You were expressing your interest in creating an ARG.
Yeah, I was.
Very manipulative to the audience. We can get into shadows and puppets in a bit, but I also pulled up poison.
I would also say school.
Yeah, that's
School is
relevant
probably the
to-
biggest thing.
That's relevant to both
Yeah,
of
I
our
looked up-
dreams.
High school. I pulled up high school. To dream of being in high school represents anxiety or concerns you have in regards to gaining power, resources, or status. How well you are being perceived by others, or how well you are performing in life. You may want more responsibility, status, or to feel more capable. You are trying to improve yourself in some manner. Negatively, high school may reflect too much concern with developing power or status. High school points to insecurities or anxieties about how powerful or capable you feel as a person. To dream of not completing or dropping out of high school may reflect feelings about not having done enough to achieve power or status. Feelings that you didn't try hard enough to achieve your goals. Feelings that you've surrendered or given up on an accomplishment you cared a lot about. Feeling like a loser for not having tried hard enough at something important to you. Attending specific classes in a school may represent the manner in which you are thinking. For example, history classes may reflect the re-examining of your past, and math classes, your attempt to solve a difficult problem.
So, Zach, it was like we were going back to a high school willingly to attend classes for enrichment purposes, but we were going specifically for art classes. Which is like funny because we both went to art school in college, but
Yeah, I have
like
dreamed.
felt like we needed something out of like paper mache high school art.
Yeah, I have dreams all the time where I'm back at high school or college, and it's always the classic. Like I have the what do you call it? Your list of classes that you have to get to, but they're all in different buildings, and it's like my first day, and I don't know which building.
I hate that.
It's just reliving an actual day. That's your first day of college or high school.
Yeah.
So I have no idea if there's a connection here, but something I thought about with high school and maybe why Zach is in your dream or like a heavy theme is you're pretty far into an interview process with a new job, right? So if high school is connected to, power, status, accomplishments, things like that, and you're like kind of in a pending waiting place with this new job opportunity, which Zach is also looking into, so he's kind of in it with you, and you've been talking about like, oh, maybe we'll end up working together again, maybe it'll be like a little reunion for our last job. So possibly high school together with Zach is this thought of like maybe working together again.
Yeah, it did feel like, Zach, you were like my one friend there.
Well, yeah, all the other kids were kids.
Yeah, no, it was like, yes, yeah, it was like you were the only person I was going to hang out with there.
And who's the creepy woman poisoning masks?
Yeah, Janet something, but that was a pseudonym. It was not her real name.
Janet the demon.
And art classes, right? You guys are kind of an artistic profession.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, because I apparently was in the same high school last night, but all I remember is the tail end, which was super creepy and disturbing.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into that.
I mean, we kind of already did.
That's all you remember from the dream is just the scene with Olivia?
Yeah, that's all it was just last night, and it woke me up in the middle of the night. Well, I woke myself up trying to replicate her. Well, if this is about us pursuing the same job and I'm imitating Olivia,
Oh, there you go.
That's funny.
I don't know why it would manifest as something like creepy. The only thing I can think of is that I might be kind of stressed about like it not panning out or something.
This is kind of a weird analogy, but so our dog Casper, he's a trauma boy, and he came here on a truck with his litter mate, Ghost, and they both were adopted out. We recently got in contact with Ghost's owner and took the dogs to meet each other. And when Casper saw Ghost, he like had a full-blown meltdown. He wasn't like scared of Ghost, but recognizing the dog that he went through a traumatic situation with freaked him out. So, like, maybe even though you and I are buddies who came here together, the, like, connection you have to working with me is also connected to, like, an anxiety-inducing work environment.
Yeah, like fear it might turn out like
Again, like this is all just shots in the dark, but so if you've got this, a big component of the dream was like, there's someone that's not trustworthy that's trying to poison someone here, and you guys are working together to try and suss out like who the untrustworthy person is, who where the danger is in the situation.
Yeah.
Because poisoning
is
especially poisoning something like a mask, which is supposed to protect you. It's like a super devious, underhanded, kind of like the people that we used to, and you've worked for twice now.
Yes.
Those who you can't tell right away might be trouble.
Okay, I just remembered a detail too, and it was that we talked to the science teacher, and he was like, yeah, I got a notification from the administration, like from the school, that was like, oh, your new PPE equipment, like your new PPE gear is here. So like the school got it from this like other entity, and it like they were ready to just hand it off to him. It got all the way to him, and he was the one who had to realize that like the school wasn't even going to protect him from that.
Yeah, that seems significant.
So then if we look at poison, to dream of poison represents situations, patterns, or people that contaminate our sense of self. Emotional toxicity from interacting with people or situations that are incompatible with you. Any type of exposure to energy that is antithetical to your own or violates your principles. Feelings about your life or relationships being intentionally contaminated by others. Real-life situations that may encourage a dream with poison may be time spent with warped family members, or when introverts are forced to socialize with extroverts. So that does kind of connect to the idea of maybe like a toxic or incompatible person, like a personality trait or like toxic behaviors that you're maybe concerned about on some level.
Or experiencing in the workplace. There's also something in there about compromising your values or
Yes, yeah.
That was, you used that for run a show.
Yes.
It was very, very antithetical to your values. That's what it said.
Yes. Yeah. And I was basically told to suck it up. I've gone through several jobs since then where like I can tell right away when somebody wants to exploit me and doesn't value my work. Because I've run into it a few times now. It's like become really apparent. There's like real clear red flags right off the bat. And this latest job opportunity has not displayed those red flags. Maybe this is just because I'm like traumatized, but like that in and of itself sometimes can feel like a red flag, you know? I'm waiting for it to turn sour. What's the catch?
Jaded.
That plays into why I couldn't tell if you were laughing or crying. And then I was trying to imitate it, much like I'm like trying to imitate this process of applying to this job, but also I was trying to show you what you looked like so that you would know you're sending mixed messages.
Yeah, so if we run with, I don't know if this is resonating with you guys, but if you run with the idea of high school as being representative of your careers or your career goals, it's like, well, you were doing this together in the past. Now you're coming back at it together to give it another shot. And then you feel like you have to investigate like the risks there.
It is post high school, and we're not like, we don't have the naivete of like a freshman who might be totally unaware of the arsenic.
Yeah, that's right. And like, we were not the target of the poison. Like, it was the science teacher. Also, it was my science teacher from high school. But we were investigating for him.
I mean,
why wouldn't it be us that was the target, you know?
Because we don't have that job yet. We're investigating on behalf of the current faculty. And I don't know if you had like like certain notions or history with this teacher, but science does seem related to poison.
Right. Well, I do, but also like, is the school itself the job?
This auditing thing seems like it is, right?
It seemed like high school represented like life goals and aspirations, specifically like like, you know, like career goals or material goals.
Gotcha. So like the auditing of the classes is like the job application process. Like we're not hired yet.
I wish I could remember everything that happened before the end of my dream to see if it lines up with, because we both ended in like a eerie, uncertain place.
It was very surreal to like, yeah. And this like evil person felt like it was like a dark entity kind of threatening thing.
Okay, I pulled up a few things based on what we were talking about. I pulled up teachers, science, and then classrooms. I feel like classrooms is maybe a good place to start. To dream of classrooms represents an interest in learning about yourself, personal growth, or finding solutions to problems or questions. You may have a concern about a specific subject or issue. The subject of a classroom represents the manner, method, or direction you are thinking. So I think we've got two separate concepts here, right? We've got the art class, which is the reason you're here. And then we've got the science class with the science teacher, which is the focus of the anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the trouble is happening, is with the science class. Which could, I mean, just talking off the top of my head, right, is like art would represent like what you want to be doing, just like focusing on making like cool podcasts or whatever. And then science might be like more analytical.
And this job is literally like a tech podcast. Like it's a company that produces podcasts for like tech companies and like corporate clients. So
maybe there's an anxiety about maybe how those things are supposed to synthesize.
I have a little bit of an anxiety about being out of my element a little bit, or like producing content about things that I don't know anything about. They produce a lot of podcasts for like security companies. I'm like, I know absolutely nothing about that. And that's, I mean, that's just like a fear of the unknown thing.
So that could be the meaning there with the dichotomy between science and art, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also like not to like force the metaphor, but to keep going on the train I was on earlier. I guess something I was thinking was like maybe science would be connected to this feeling of having to be analytical or not your whole self, or guarded or reserved in like a new workplace, having to like, you know, read people in a way that's not as free and artistic as the actual work you want to be doing.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but those were my binary subjects. Art. I graduated high school with like 6 art credits straight A's and like 3 science credits straight C's.
I did okay in science. I did terribly in math though, and I do feel like there's a relationship there. Yeah, I don't know.
I was good at math because it was right or wrong. Science had more critical thinking that I couldn't wrap my brain around.
So here's an interesting note. The science teacher in my dream was my science teacher from high school. I actually really did like this teacher. Like once I got to know him or once he got to know me, and was invested in me as a student. But like my very first experience with this teacher stuck with me throughout my entire education, and in a negative way. I've always struggled with math, particularly like math related anxiety. I just like, it's a thing. I just have always felt like I was bad at math, and I internalized that. And so I would continually get behind in math. And then when I went to this school, I was new at the school, and I placed in a math class like lower than most people in my grade. And when I went to that math class on the first day of school, this teacher was like, okay, so everyone knows this thing, right? You remember this, obviously. And I did not know it because I don't know math, and I just like, you know, it was not a thing I was good at. So I didn't know this like basic thing that I should have known. And she must have told this science teacher that, because then I went to my chemistry class, and this science teacher in front of everybody was like, so Mrs. So-and-so tells me that some of you don't know this really basic thing. And if you don't know that, that's a big problem, and you should really get your shit together. And the sticking point was that I was the only person in this chemistry class, because like this was 10th grade. I was the only person in 10th grade who was in that math teacher's class. And everyone knew that because I wasn't in their math class. So it was like everyone knew that he was talking about me. So like that's a thing about that teacher from this dream.
That reminds me of when our old boss seemed to think you didn't know how a computer works. Like it's similar kind of mortification.
Well, no. I mean, yes, but like...
But you did know how a computer works.
I do know how computers work.
Remember when she would talk shit about us during her shows?
Yeah.
Like announcing to everybody that the producers are incompetent.
Yeah.
But yeah, we weren't actually. It was a similar shaming, public shaming.
It is similar in that sense, but like I would say the feeling was very different. Like I didn't feel shame from that situation because
just
it's
anger.
A false. It was just like, wow, that's really stupid of you. But I felt deeply ashamed that I didn't know this like algebra formula because I was told I was stupid for not knowing it, and I didn't know it and I didn't feel like I could learn it. So
trying to connect that to the science teacher being the target of the poisoning.
Well, we talked about science being the source of like anxiety and fear, right? Or like unknown.
So I was just going to get into the science entry in the Dream Bible. All I do is read the Dream Bible, and I love it. So the science entry is to dream of studying science represents thoughts or situations in your life that are experimental, new ideas, new habits, or new methods of dealing with problems. You are learning from these new experiences or methods. Does that feel like that connects, or do you think maybe science symbolizes something different in this dream?
Science is the new job, the new idea, the new habits, the new experience. We're trying to figure out who is the threat to the new experience.
I think there's a lot of layers involved with science as a subject here in this dream, because you've got it by itself. You've also got the relationship with the science teacher, right? And then you've got the juxtaposition between science and art classes, right? So science could its relevance could be embedded in any of those things.
Totally. Could we actually like do a quick deep dive into Zach's dream, since Zach's dream is like really concise? From
this conversation, I feel like I figured mine out and kind of said it already, right? That I feel like I'm...
Yeah, let's get that again, though.
Yeah.
Let's kind of go through it and, yeah.
Because when I woke up in the middle of the night from that nightmare, I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, I had no idea why I would dream that. But now I'm feeling like it's because I was literally thinking about that job opportunity last night. And like, I hope that works out. That would be cool. So I feel like it has to do with me following your lead on it and also being a little anxious about not knowing if it's going to be something that either of us are going to
laugh or cry about.
Yeah, exactly. Being the like sort of art department within this technological industry, whether or not our skills are actually going to thrive there, or even whether or not, we're going to get the job. It seems that obviously you're a lot closer than I am. So I think my dream was just anxiety about that. Because I feel like the last few of my dreams have been about where I'm at professionally. I'm doing podcasts like half the time, and the other half the time I'm still working in an industry that I'm trying to get out of, which is cooking. So I have this constant dissatisfaction, like a musical note that needs to be resolved, where I want to just like fully cross the threshold into podcasting full time. And I feel like a lot of my dreams, last night's included, are about that. So like mimicking you makes sense. Being like unsure and freaked out by what you're going through makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense.
Also, real quick, I want to say that the being able to freak somebody out with a facial expression is a reoccurring theme in my dreams since childhood.
Oh, interesting.
The earliest I remember I was at a zoo or an aquarium, and I was freaking out adults. Like I would walk up to them and make a face, and they would get like feverishly terrified and run away.
I wonder if there's something about that we could look up.
And I would go to like, I remember walking up to like an aquarium. There was a school of fish, and I made the face, and they all scattered. And then this dream actually had a punchline. I went into a public restroom and looked in the mirror, and I was a redhead. And I was like, that's it. That's all it takes to. But I
feel like you've told me this before. You're saying anytime I look in the mirror in a dream, I'm like a chubby redhead.
Anytime since then, yeah. And that's how I know I'm dreaming since that dream. But I also I knew looking in the mirror that I wasn't actively making the face yet, and I was scared to make the face because I thought I would like drive myself insane. It had the tone of like at slumber parties, standing in front of the mirror and being too scared to say Candyman 3 times.
Wait, so have you seen the face that you make, or it's this knowledge that if you were to make that face in the mirror, you would break your own brain in like a Lovecraftian fashion?
That, the second one.
Okay.
So that I haven't seen it.
Cool.
But then
the face that can't be seen. That's awesome.
But then last night's dream, I had the feeling that Olivia's face was giving me was, I connected it to that feeling that I was able to give people in the past.
That's like a trope where it's like you can't show it or it loses its power, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it's a big thing in horror. The idea of the thing is scarier than the thing itself. And
yes.
You can never represent, like, you can never create the scary thing.
Yeah.
You can allude to it, and then people's imaginations kind
it's like, if you've ever seen a horror movie where, like, it's scary up until you have seen too much. Like, they show you the monster, and you're like, oh my God, it's a guy in latex.
Yeah.
Like, I love Alien, but when it's like the guy doing the crab walk backwards in the alien suit, that's where they lose me a little bit.
Yeah.
It's weird that you're like a consistently different person in the mirror.
Yeah.
Is that your like dream alter ego?
No, because I know it's not me, and that's how I become lucid.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's the real you, and this you is just an illusion.
Yeah. I think
what does Dream Bible say about red hair?
I think it's just my, like, what do you call it when you're lucid dreaming? A totem?
Yeah.
It's just the idea that this, like, my brain is filling in, like, what do you not look like? And so it was like a chubby redhead. One time it was a black woman, which is
interesting.
Arguably further from what I actually look like.
Would you say?
And I was hot,
like,
too. I remember in that dream, I was like, damn, I'm a fox. Way hotter as a black woman than a chubby redhead kid.
When you're a redhead, is it like blood red, or is it like you're a conventional like orange haired redhead? Like a ginger.
Natural red, yeah. But
a natural red.
Bright red, and freckles.
So orange hair in a dream represents a thinking style that is noticeable or hard to avoid noticing. Beliefs, emotions, or situations that are impossible to stop or avoid. An area of your life that is overpowering your focus and can't go unnoticed. Negatively, orange hair may reflect a preoccupation with wanting to be noticed or outrageous behavior that is impossible to ignore. Extremist thinking that shocks other people.
That actually makes sense that it's just like a noticeable difference, you know? Because like if I were to look in the mirror and I had the same like colored hair, but like I didn't quite look like me, I don't know if I'd think much of it. But if I had like a very striking difference, yeah, that might make me lucid.
Yeah, because it's not just the hair, it's my whole facial structure too.
Yeah.
Kind of look like the kid from Sandlot.
Cool. I kind of feel like we got to the bottom of our dream.
Yeah.
That's funny that it seems like our dreams were not only like thematically similar, but also about the same thing.
And in a similar place.
Mm-hmm.
I really want the dream.
Spooky.
I really want the dream plane to be real. Like the idea that you actually like astral project to a different world.
I find that very appealing.
And then, I mean, there's the idea that there's this shared symbolism, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you guys are dreaming about the same thing because it's on both of your minds because you're going through kind of a shared experience, and your brains subconsciously have a shared language of symbolism to represent those things, which results in having a shared dream. Same as the treehouse.
Yeah.
The treehouse subconsciously represents something that is shared between the two of you, and so you have an overlapping dream because you're thinking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. What blows me away every time is just how on point this shared symbolism is. Like, like last week, the duck, like that,
Yeah.
that is bizarre and like so insanely on point. And it's like, why does duck mean that to me?
Right.
I don't get it, but I guess it does.
The cultural unconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of
Collective unconscious.
Jungian terms, I was going to say right up top, the shadow puppet thing. That just using the word shadow made me think of just the idea of the unconscious.
Yeah, we didn't get into the shadow puppets.
I was a redhead. Oh my God.
Oh, really?
Oh, wait. Okay. So
How did shadow make you realize that?
well, okay. So I remember during the shadow puppet thing, I was filling in for somebody else. And I walked out onto the stage, like, to go back behind the stage to do the shadow puppet thing. But, like, I had, like, bright red curly hair, and everyone recognized me. And then I remember, like, looking at myself from behind the stage, just shifting perspectives. But so, like, I saw myself on the stage walking to the back of the stage. Yeah, I was a redhead.
Weird.
So it seems like being a redhead in your dream for both of you is maybe a way of highlighting that you are not yourself in your dream.
Yeah, like
that you are
like
someone
a
else.
third person perspective.
Yeah. You're both seeing like, oh, it's really not me because I'm not a redhead.
You know what would be creepy? Is if, like, remember that Reddit dream we did where the person went through the window into an alternate, they kept going into like liminal versions of, and they would see like alternate versions of their family. What if Olivia and I start seeing redheaded versions of each other around town?
Fuck.
Whoa.
That would be a great premise for a horror movie.
That would be. I'm actually remembering, like, just briefly, like, thinking about other dreams, because I will often have dreams where I'm not myself, and I'm looking at myself from a third person perspective. And I did have one a few months ago where that was also a very in-depth, like, several characters. I was playing several characters, but one of the characters I was playing, who was a female, was redheaded, and then the other character that I was male, and that was a distinctive enough difference, but when I was a woman, I had red hair.
That's very interesting.
So yeah, we did talk about the puppets a little bit, and I just wanted to add that, like, shadow to me just like is a little hat on a hat, like indicating that this is taking place in your subconscious.
Yeah.
So I think we've figured out that in the astral plane, you two are a pair of redheaded twins. Mm-hmm. And then I don't remember my dreams because I'm basically Janet from The Good Place, and I just pop into people's dreams like, can I help you with something? And then I disappear.
We should all do DMT together, see if we can get to the astral plane outside of a dream.
I would be down.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
I don't know if it'd make a great podcast. It's just the audio
At
of
least
us.
it won't last very long.
Yeah, it's just 10 minutes of us going,
I think people would listen to that.
I think they have listened to that. I think it might be the most popular podcast on the market.
Look at this ad for, it's like a de-choking tool.
Oh, what?
Like, if somebody's choking, you, like, stick this in their mouth and it, like, pulls the hot dog out of their throat. But look at this fucking ad.
Yeah. Why does he have a
candle? Because his life was saved. Well, because he can look at candles because he's not dead.
Is he
What?
mourning a different kid that died choking on hot dogs?
I just put in my earbuds and heard he can look at candles because he's not dead.
I'm going to send it to you. This ad just popped up. It's like for a de-choking tool for kids.
De-choking.
Yeah, if you're choking, you shove this thing down their throat and you suck the hot dog out of their esophagus.
Yeah, it's like a plastic pipe with a pump that you, like, if someone's choking, you shove it down their throat and then you can pump out whatever's stuck in their throat.
But this ad just made me laugh because it has pictures of this thing with like some nasty chewed up hot dog shit in it. And then this little kid standing next to it, like holding a candle and smiling down at this candle. And it just says, another life saved.
Oh, it is called the D choker. I thought you just made that word up.
But it seems like a vigil thing to me,
Yeah,
right?
he's mourning
Like,
his sister that didn't have this product.
yeah, like he gets to live, but so many children have died from choking on hot dogs before now.
He also looks really happy. I think he wanted to be an only child.
It looks like a gross improvised bong.
Oh God. It also kind of looks like one of those like vacuum like sex toys.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of
Sex
sex toys.
What a segue.
Yeah, Zach, you want to
Yeah.
kick it off?
Yeah, on the adjacent topic of tandem, not tandem dreaming, but like this is more like influence dreaming.
Mm-hmm. You're an influencer.
I'm an influencer. I need to be getting some ad revenue on my dreams. Yes, I had a dream a while ago when we were still working together. Remember, it took place on a highway, like access road. So there was the main highway that looked a lot like certain corridors of I-5. Like it definitely felt like it took place in Washington. There were a lot of like tall ass pine trees on either side of the highway. And then I took an exit onto an access road, like a dirt road closer to the trees. And there was like essentially like a weight station for trucks. And there were a ton of like 18-wheelers, big rigs down there. And I was tasked with unloading one of them. It was like full of cardboard boxes, like you might see in a U-Haul. And I had to unload them all. Or maybe I was loading, I don't remember if I was taking them off or putting them on. But it seemed like a lot of work for one person. And at one point, I noticed on the ground in the dirt was one of those floppy rubber butts that you can buy for practice at sex stores.
So we've all got them, right? Everyone's got one.
I'm acting like no one knows
admit.
what I'm talking about, but you know, just look under your bed. Yes, I've only seen them on the shelves at sex stores. They're like $400.
Oh my God.
I've seen them like mounted on the wall, like looming over everything, usually above a doorway for some reason.
In the sex shop?
In sex shops, yeah.
So, for some reason, I thought you meant like just at like a friend's house. They're like hanging it like a trophy.
I mean, that's what I would do with mine if I got one. Yeah,
That would be
put it right above the mantle.
It would be funny to put it on a
on the wall.
plaque like you hunted a human. But yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's just a butt. It's just the rubber butt with the two holes that are near each other.
So it's not just a butt.
Right. Yeah, the female anatomy, the female form from the waist to the mid thigh.
Gotcha.
In life size and made of whatever they make sex toys out of that jiggle like human parts. I'm painting a vivid picture because it adds to the humor of what's about to happen, which is that I knew it wasn't mine. I assume it fell out of one of the boxes or something. But I didn't know any of these people. That was an important feeling in the dream, was I didn't know why I was tasked with doing this. I'm not a trucker. I don't know why any of this is happening, but like, I don't want to let anyone down. So I'm going to try to do this job. Oh shit, there's a rubber butt on the floor. I don't want them to think I brought that, or I don't want, if it did come out of the box, I don't want to violate any like client's privacy, or, you know, when you hear ads for Adam and Eve, they always say like ships discreetly in discreet packaging or whatever. And I'm totally betraying that right now. So I felt like I had to get the rubber butt into the cab of the truck for some reason. That felt safer than the back of the truck. And I didn't have keys to it, but the window was open. And at this point, I'm walking around the side of the truck with the butt, and I'm trying to like hide it from the highway, the actual highway where cars are going by. So I'm like shuffling along the side of the truck with the butt to my chest. And then by the time I get to the cab, it's like impossibly high. Like the open window is like, I don't know, 15 feet in the air. And there's no ladder to get to the door. So I just like chuck it trying to hit the window, but I overshoot and it goes to the other side of the cab and like bounces in the dirt and like flops the kinetic energy off. And then I walk around and I try again and I do the same thing and it just keeps happening. I just can't. Sometimes it'll like splat against the side of the door and like peel off and fall back down. And sometimes it overshoots. But I just can't seem to get it into the truck. And the whole time I'm like, it's super urgent. I'm trying to get this thing away before anybody sees. And I can't.
I love it.
And as I'm describing it, I'm realizing it's like, there's some overlapping themes with my dream from last week. Besides the obvious masturbatory ones, but also the like being exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like shame tied in with a task you can't accomplish.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's just more components to it, more visual components this time. So, but yeah, what you want to go ahead and fill in part 2?
Yeah. So, this was in 2020, right? And Zach told me this dream. And I think you sent it to me in like a voice memo. And I thought it was very funny. And then the following night, I had a dream where I was at the truck stop and from kind of like across a street and kind of hiding in a bush, I was watching Zach throw this rubber butt over the truck and bouncing it off the window and just kind of like looking over his shoulder, paranoid, and not knowing that there was anyone there watching. And I sensed that he wouldn't want to be seen doing this, and so I was hiding. So I inserted myself into your dream.
It was just like
retroactively,
but it was like beat for beat the same dream, right? Just from a different perspective.
I was the person you were worried about seeing you.
And I tried to describe it in great detail so we could compare notes. Where you did the like forest I-5 description?
Yeah. At the time, I think you told me like I knew it was like a wait station. It was either like dawn or dusk. Like it was kind of dark, like, but not middle of the night dark.
Yeah, in my dream, it was a typical like foggy Seattle. I didn't have a sense for time. I knew it was day. It wasn't night.
Okay.
And it could have been early or late afternoon. I don't know. It was overcast.
Interesting. So overcast, kind of midday for Zach, and then clear skies, like sunrise, sunset-ish timing for Olivia.
It was before sunrise or after sunset. It was like
But in the lead up to one of those things, or like
blue hour.
It was like the sun was not up, but it was not like the middle of the night.
Gotcha. And I figured even if I didn't describe the trees and everything in I-5 to you, since all your dreams take place in Washington, it would just look like that by default.
I've lived here my whole life in Washington, and so I've gone to like rest areas and like, so I think I just kind of like filled in the details with one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were working at our job at the time, and I was coming from South Seattle. So to me, it felt like this one stretch of I-5 between Seattle and Mount Lake Terrace.
What did the truck look like? Both of you.
It was a white semi-truck.
Okay. Zach, was it white in your dream?
The box car, if that's what they call it, was the freight part where everything goes.
Yeah.
That part was white.
I don't know what color the cab was, actually. I know the box was white, though.
Okay, box is white in both your dreams.
Remember the cab being a shiny metallic color, like maybe like maroon. The standout part of the truck was the size, the like height of the door.
Do you remember Zach saying anything?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it. What did Zach say?
I mean, he was just like, oh, fuck. God damn it. Oh, shit.
That's all I was saying in my dream.
That's what I thought. All right.
But,
so more similar than different.
The truck... The truck was like a very regular size in my dream. It was not like super large. And so like to you on your side, it was like this impossible task. And to me, it looked like someone trying to put a basketball in one of those like kid-sized basketball hoops, like you're trying to dunk on like a 6-foot hoop and like fucking it up every time.
So I wonder if there's significance, because I feel like the significance in this one is going to be more interesting in comparison. Because for me to just do it in a vacuum, like just my dream, I think it's going to be similar to last week and the poop dreams, where it's like you said about embarrassment and lack of privacy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious what it means that I told you about it, and then you like almost diminutively had this like outside perspective go ahead.
Sorry. To me, that would mean that like from your perspective, this is an impossible task, but from like an objective outside perspective, you're more getting in your own way than anything else. Like you're your own reason why you can't accomplish the task.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with work. I mean, that's where I saw Olivia every day. But my dream didn't include her. Well, maybe it did. I just didn't see her hiding in the bushes like a...
Yeah, that's right.
But I wonder if it has to do with like, I don't know, whatever was going on at work at the time. Like maybe I was venting to you, but it wasn't, because our boss would like trade off who was in her sights in terms of like punitive measures and who was the star child. This might have been during a period of time where Olivia had it easy and I was like venting a lot, and from her perspective it was like, what's the problem? You know,
maybe I don't really remember, but I do remember this was after you like this was, I think you were at Whole Foods, right?
Yeah, actually I remember sending you the voicemail from the Whole Foods parking lot before I clocked in.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything before or after this part of the dream? Or was this the whole dream for you? It was hiding in these bushes.
It was like I respawned to this like place, and I'm looking around and I turn around and I see Zach throwing this rubber butt at this truck. And I just kind of like ducked down. Yeah, no, that was it.
So when you say you like respawned, it's like, do you remember like coming into sudden awareness of being there? You're like, whoa, I was in darkness. And now there's tree. Am I at a truck stop?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you're like, oh shit, hide.
And then you just hung it. So, okay. Do you remember the resolution? Like, did Zach give up? Did he accomplish his goal?
I don't recall.
I think in my dream,
but
I eventually lost it. Like I wasn't sure if I got it in the cab or not, but I couldn't find it. Like I walked around to the other side of the cab and I looked under it. And
I think I remember watching him do that for a while and then feeling like I was like invading his privacy. I didn't want to embarrass him, but I can't stand up and leave because he would see me. So I just kind of like hung out there, and I think I maybe stopped looking after a while and just like let him do his thing.
So the whole experience for you seemed to be concern about embarrassing Zach.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those situations where like it would have been fine if I like walked by, but if once you hide, then you have like, I don't know,
you've committed to hiding.
Yeah, you've kind of already invaded the privacy by like not making yourself noticed, you know?
Yeah, but what else are you going to do? How are you going to announce your presence that isn't going to like make me jump out of my shoes?
So, hey, I don't know why I did this, but I was hiding in the bushes for about 10 minutes and I just can't watch you do this anymore. I gotta help.
Like, I really have to be somewhere, so.
We can talk about this later, but I gotta go.
So it does make sense. I forgot that I was at Whole Foods at the time because I got let go from that job that Olivia and I both had. It does make sense that I was tasked with this like kind of, I don't want to call it menial because it's like it's a real job being a truck driver, but it's hard labor and it's not what I wanted to be doing. So it makes sense that I would be tasked with unloading this truck, and that part of the task was embarrassing for me because that's kind of how I felt at the time. Like, getting fired sucks. It is. There's a lot of shame and embarrassment involved in that, especially when you have to go back to an industry that you thought you had succeeded at leaving.
I mean, the truck here might represent to you going back to like a non-creative job, you know? Like for you, working at Whole Foods kind of felt the same as if you were like, your job was to unload a truck. It was like not really something that you're invested in. It's just like a job.
Yeah, and there was embarrassment to it at the time because I, thought I had already found my lucky break with this other job and podcasting and stuff.
Yeah, so the sex doll in this dream is the embarrassment of your artistic aspirations, or like your aspirations. It's like it felt like this thing you've dragged along with you to this normal job that you have to do.
Yeah, because I remember at the time there was a lot of, when you start a new job and there's just conversation amongst your, just casual conversation, and it comes up, okay, have you been working in, cheese for a long time? It's like, well, no, I actually just came from, like, I was reticent to, like, I think I lied a lot and just said that I'd always been doing cheese. I didn't want to, like, admit that I had this other job that would inspire them to be like, oh, that's very cool. Why aren't you doing that? You know what I mean? And then I would have to be like, well, I failed at it.
Yeah.
Totally.
So then the job you left is probably the sex doll here, right? And then
Trying to hide it.
you're just having a hard time
It's what was
like
left
getting
over.
that out of you.
Yeah, it's what was left over after.
Just the butt.
It was a dusty old rubber butt.
Yeah, that's all I was left with after getting let go from this job, and I was embarrassed by it and still didn't know how to use it.
So you're trying to,
because I didn't know. Once I had that on my resume, I was like, well, I finally got a year under my belt of something that I want to be doing on my resume, but it kind of feels tarnished, and I don't know what to do with it now.
and then ultimately losing it, right? It's like you're trying to get rid of it. It's this anxiety, and then, oh, well, it disappeared. Is maybe the part of you at the time that was trying to move on from that dream or put that dream aside.
Yeah. I mean, that all tracks, and it also explains why, if Olivia was able to intuit that at the time and then see it from her perspective, this probably would have been around the time that she sort of like figured out how to mitigate the toxicity of that workplace. Does that?
Yeah, I had definitely learned how to navigate it in a way that, like, I didn't let it get to me, and I put myself in a position of being the golden child for as long as possible. Like, I stopped getting in trouble for bullshit at a certain point.
Yeah, and you kind of knew how to redirect that, whatever was being thrown at you, without getting in deeper trouble. Because that's ultimately,
Yes.
I think, what went awry with my situation at that place was that I reached the end of my rope, and instead of being tactful like Olivia, I started just standing up for myself, and I think it came off as obstinate, and I eventually became more trouble than I was worth to them.
Yeah, they definitely did not want anybody challenging them, or, like, in particular, it was like she wanted to be able to, like, criticize you for stuff that made absolutely no sense without you questioning it, you know? Because it wasn't about you doing something wrong. It was about, like, power.
Yeah, and once you figured out how to, like, navigate, borderline, like, manipulate this, like, narcissist that we worked for, I'm sure to you they went from seeming like a pit bull to like a little chihuahua that if you just gave them the right treat at the right time, it wasn't, or in this
very
case,
accurate.
or in this case, from a giant fucking truck to a regular sized one.
Yeah, I think that nails it.
We're just setting these up and knocking them down, just clearing out dream meanings left and right.
Yeah,
And it's all work all the time.
I should start getting other stuff going on in my life so that I have more nuanced dreams like you. Today I was going to do one I had a few weeks ago that was like kind of a nightmare, but then just through this conversation we got along, like we figured out sort of a theme or a trajectory.
Yeah. I'm just curious to see if there's, like, other things that we're dreaming about on the same nights, you know?
Yeah, you guys might have a lot more overlapping dreams than you realize.
Mm-hmm. I just hope I start seeing you, Victor, whenever I'm in trouble.
I'm probably there for all of them. I just don't remember them at all. I was hiding under the desk the whole time. I was saying earlier, though, I think it's really healthy and good that I'm rarely the focal point of your dreams.
Yeah.
I'm usually just like a helpful or supportive, like, side character. 'Cause
That
I think
does feel right.
if you were dreaming about me a lot, it would maybe indicate that you were working through something with me.
Yeah.
But instead, I'm just like, I'm sorted, I'm solved, and I'm just there to, like, lend support when needed while you deal with other things.
That's totally true.
And then it's interesting, the couple of shared dreams where Zach is like a key role, it seems to indicate like you guys being in the trenches together in a work situation.
Yeah. That's so funny.
It's like you're in it together with Zach. You're in a problem with Zach. And so you're working through it with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one being like on something on the horizon, and the second one being something in the past.
Yeah.
It was the present at the time, but and then your good old Clippy. Just popping up with the little word bubble like, looks like you're trying to sort through issues with your dad.
Looks like you're having a nightmare. Is there anything I can get you?
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for listening to The Young and the Restless.
You can follow us on Instagram at The Young and the Restless Pod. And if you want us to interpret your dreams, submit them to The Young and the Restless Pod at Gmail.
And as we always say,
No ifs, ands, or rubber butts.
You a tiger lily on the moon, and maybe someday we could go there together. For now the clock is screaming, welcome home. Dream forever, dream forever. Hey, since you're still here, how about you dip on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review? And by the way, put a dream in the description, and we'll read one each week on the show. Thanks.